The institutions have always acted as gatekeepers. The institutions have always mediated the conversation of the peasants to make sure that it doesn't go too far outside the bounds of what the regime will accept. They're acting in a gatekeeping capacity, in a moderation capacity. They're controlling that conversation and the limits of what is accepted inside of it, and they're trying to be judicious. And as this mass awakening has occurred, the institutions seem to be echoing the sentiments of the people. This is unheard of. You have the people are waking up and criticizing Israel, talking about Jews, and now all of a sudden, on sort of a delayed reaction, lagging behind, trailing just so slightly, are people like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, even lately Charlie Kirk, Megyn Kelly, Anna Kasparian, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, among others. People that come from the institutions, the institutional media, the political parties, and so on and so forth. They're starting to sound similar to what the people are saying. And the reason this is remarkable is because the institutions are answerable to Israel and the Jewish oligarchs in a way that the people are not. Fox News is beholden to Rupert Murdoch, who is an ally of Israel. If you want to get any kind of money in the GOP, you need to be pro-Israel, or else AIPAC is going to destroy you. If you want to have any kind of play or access in the conservative Republican politics space at all, you need to be unconditionally, completely pro-Israel, or else you will be destroyed. And so the institutions are sort of lagging behind. And some people are saying, well, the institutional actors, like the peasants, are just getting red-pilled. They're having their own awakening. If your uncle and your parents and your family are getting red-pilled, well, shouldn't we give someone like Tucker or Candace or Megyn Kelly the benefit of the doubt? Maybe they're getting red-pilled too. They had a legitimate good faith awakening. They discovered previously unknown information and changed their minds. I would characterize it and say that they're trying to moderate this conversation too. The mass awakening is so big that it's unavoidable. It has to be talked about. It is concerning a very significant issue. The change in public opinion is drastic, and it's concerning an issue that previously there was very little room for disagreement, for an alternative perspective. And so I think in the context of this awakening, now these institutional actors are coming to the fore. They're not having a good faith epiphany, change of heart. Rather, they are strategically echoing some of the major complaints, echoing some of what can be considered a moderate critique in an effort to mediate this conversation. This is kind of my going theory. And the reason they're doing this, it's not because they all got together and convened a meeting and said, the Goyim are waking up, we need to...
So for the people who don't know, Goyims is a term used by Jewish people for everyone else who is not Jewish. So for example, Christians are called Goyims. It's from the word Goy. You can even Google this yourself if you don't know this. And if you ask me, it's kind of weird that they have words for everyone who is different than them, but that's just my opinion. Secondly, what Nick just said here is also very important to mention. Isn't it suspicious that all these powerful people like Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk, that they suddenly change their opinion if they see that the public's opinion is changing? Feels like they are trying to moderate like the conversation, right? It's kind of weird that they see the public is having a different opinion, and then suddenly afterwards they also change their opinion in favor of the public. Kind of suspicious. Anyway, let's continue.
Employ some kind of counterintelligence operation. I don't think it's so intentional, although maybe it is. I think on some level it reflects an interest on the part of everybody in the system, maybe a competing interest, you might say, where they want to have credibility with their audience. If their audience is going in a direction, they sort of have to follow on some level. So as a broadcaster, as someone of influence, in order to maintain their credibility and their influence, they can't stand athwart all of their audience. They may have to follow the audience somewhat. Here's the other interest. As people with a platform that are part of the institutions, a Megyn Kelly, a Tucker Carlson, they're at Fox News, they're at cable news. They're in a position of great influence. They have connections to the government, to politicians. They have connections to billionaires. They're sort of in a web. They're entangled in a political web in a way that the peasants are not. You, at your regular job, you can have whatever opinion you want. It doesn't have any impact on the country. It doesn't have any impact on governance. But that is not so for a journalist living in DC their entire life.
Tucker Carlson, and what he just said, like all these people who say they are independent, actually they aren't independent. They have many sponsors, they have many donors, and of course they can't criticize their donors, they can't criticize their sponsors, and I won't have to mention you here, because you probably know who are the biggest donors, who are the biggest sponsors. You know it, I can't mention it, but we know. So they can't criticize these people who give them a lot of money, and you can think about what people give a lot of money to them.
Who regularly talks to senators and members of the National Security Council and the president himself. So they have sort of this extraordinary interest in stability, a public interest as an institutional figure. And so maybe there's this competing interest that on the one hand, they are hearing their audience, they have some obligation to identify with their audience or echo their audience. Maybe there's a cynical play to maintain credibility. On the other hand, they also have this public interest in stability. They represent an institutional force. So they're not going to go so radical. They're not going to say, F it, I'm an anti-Semite, I think Hitler's cool. You don't really see that too much, other than from someone like a Kanye West, a Ye, who his whole persona is based on rejecting societal norms. Anyway, so I've sort of been observing this latter phenomenon because it's sort of interesting, isn't it? That clearly we have this control matrix. Everyone understands this. Jews as a group in America are extremely powerful. I'm not talking about Israel. I'm not talking about Zionists.
I want to give a little side note here. Not all Jews, of course. Some of them. A lot, but not all. I have to make this side note.
I'm talking about American Jews. Jews that live in America are very powerful. They're one of, if not the richest ethnicity, one of, if not the ethnicity with the most educational attainment. They are vastly, disproportionately represented in every facet of elite society, in academia, Wall Street, government, you name it, finance, media. And they have used their influence in many different ways, in politics with these gangster-like organizations that represent their interests, like the ADL or like AIPAC. They have used these tactics to obscure the breadth and depth of their control, and also to suppress anyone that opposes it, anyone that critiques it. And they're playing a game of denial, denying anyone that challenges that power. Anyone that acknowledges the power, anyone that, again, is aware of, acknowledging, and opposing the breadth and depth of their influence, they're playing a game of denial, preventing those people from getting access to large amounts of money, preventing those people from being inside the government, gaining access to any institutional power in finance or media or Hollywood. They did this to Mel Gibson. They did this to Ye. They're doing this to Thomas Massey. They've done it to many people. And so you sort of wonder, are these people that have been a part of the institutions for their entire lives, like a Megyn Kelly, a Tucker, a Candace, why now are all of a sudden they seeming to echo the mass awakening of the people? Are they truly on our side? Are they on the side of the red pill? Are they on the side of the awakening of the people? Or are they still an erstwhile acolyte of the Jewish control matrix? Are they still in some ways connected to it, in some ways supporting it? That's sort of the question. There's a lot of distrust. If we had been lied to about this by these people for 20 years, you know, Tucker promoted the war in Iraq and worked for Fox News. Megyn Kelly worked for Fox News. Charlie Kirk is still a pawn of Israel, goes to Israel, supports Israel. If they were lying to us before with the rest of the system, if they were complicit in this cover-up, why would we believe them now? Have they turned over a new leaf, or is this just a new iteration of the deception? Is this just a software update? Is this just like I said before, a form of appeasement?
Or maybe these people are controlled opposition and they are trying a new strategy. Like, I don't know. I think that's what he is trying to say. Anyways, I'm really curious about your opinion. Please share it in the comments. Do you agree with Nick? Do you disagree with Nick? Feel free to debate. Like, it's very important to say I read all comments and I'm very curious about your opinion. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you really like this video, consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. And last but not least, I wish you guys all the best. Have a wonderful day and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.